Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Men of War, issue number 4. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, where we last left off on Men of War, Sergeant Rock and his band of merry men had gone on a Black Ops special mission. However, this mission went awry when they got overrun by enemy combatants. Surrounded and running out of ammunition, they were saved by one of their fellow teammates who apparently is metahuman. Now, no one on the team actually knew he was a meta, but he displayed his powers and he was able to save the team. Jumping to issue number 4, not everyone's particularly happy that they have a metahuman on the team. See, the general consensus that I get from Men of War, among other titles, is that the United States government, as well as other governments, do not trust anyone that has powers at all, or anyone that wears a cape, or anyone that is metahuman. They just don't trust them one bit. And this soldier was keeping a secret because, well, he didn't want to be discriminated because of it. Anyways, Sergeant Rock doesn't care. Or if he cares, he doesn't show it. He basically tells all his men to shut up, and he tells the other person to hang his head high because he's a soldier. And right now, their job is to get out of the enemy area. And they have very little ammunition and very little resources, unable to call backup, so they're really kind of working with very little right here. However, as they're trying to escape, they get ambushed, and Sergeant Rock gets hit by a car. But unlike a lot of people, he doesn't roll over and die, but rather takes the car on. How awesome is that? The question is this, will Sergeant Rock be able to stop this rampaging car and all this sniper fire? Or will, unfortunately, he and his group of merry men, who should be called Easy Company, although I don't think they've officially been called that yet, will they be able to get out or get captured? Just gonna have to read and see. In addition to that, there is a backup to this issue that has to deal with robots and testing robots in combat and stuff, but let's focus more or less on the Sergeant Rock stuff, because that is the bread and butter of this series. Good. By God, is Sergeant Rock a badass. This guy, and I don't want to ruin anything or too much for you. First of all, this guy doesn't care if his man is a metahuman or not. He's basically saying we gotta stick to the mission and get the mission done. He gets attacked with no backup, his men have been scattered, sulfuric acid is coming out of the ground, and you'll read on how that happened. With only a knife, a grenade, and a mask is he able to stop the enemy, or at least stop a good chunk of the enemy. He gets hit by a car, and he still gets up and takes care of the guy in the car. It's pretty badass. That just shows you that you don't need superpowers, the ability to create magic. All you need is someone with balls. And the great thing is Sergeant Rock's very modest about it. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't go, I'm a badass, or get ready for a falcon punch. No, he is Sergeant Rock, and he just stays quiet and gets the job done. And boy, is he a badass. The art is good as always, and once again, it continues to set the tone for the comic, giving it kind of a gritty feel. I also like the kind of the feel that we get from the metahumans, because although this is a war story in that it really takes place in a war atmosphere and it steps away from that superhero genre, we can't avoid the fact that this does take place in the DC universe proper, so that means metahumans are going to show up. And I do like the fact that they are addressing the metahumans showing up, and they're doing it in a very nice way. Well, not nice to the metahumans, but in a very interesting way for the story. Bad. The only bad I can think about this is the backup story. Well, not necessarily bad. Takes away from the main Sergeant Rock story. If we didn't have backup stories to this, we would have more time to focus on Sergeant Rock and his group of men. And I think that really would have helped contribute to the story, because there's a lot of action, a lot of good story going on, although simplistic in the story, good story. And unfortunately, it gets taken away by the fact that we have another backup story happening in here. This is one of the 399 issues, along with All-Star Western, Justice League, and I believe Action Comics is also a 399. And I really think it would be nice to have a little bit more content in here about Sergeant Rock, but maybe that's just me. On the whole, whether or not you should get it, absolutely. Men of War is probably going to be one of the more underrated comics in the DC universe now. Typically, when an individual who is new to comics, or even someone that's been reading comics for a long time, when they think of comic books, they think of the traditional superhero comic books, and that's usually what attracts people. Men of War is a comic book that is a war comic book. Sergeant Rock has always been a war-based character, even back in the 70s and way back in the day. He's always been a war-based character, but just because he's a different kind of story doesn't mean that the story isn't good. Men of War is quickly becoming one of my new favorite titles. It's enjoyable, it's something new, it's something refreshing, and bloody hell, if you have a guy as badass as Sergeant Rock on a comic, you got something going there. I do recommend picking up Men of War highly. If you have not picked up this series yet, pick up the previous issues. Like I said, it still does have a bit of the DC universe in it. For example, Cersei shows up in issue number 2, and one of his soldiers is a metahuman. But it is also rooted very much in realism. Another thing that I like about this series is the fact that it uses military-based terminology, and then it gives you a little asterisk, and it gives you a description of what that terminology is, which makes you feel more immersed in the comic, but never actually lost. I'm kind of blabbering on a bit about how good Men of War is, but that's because Men of War is good. It may take some people to get used to it if you pick it up because it is such a different comic, but it's definitely worth picking up. Please pick up this comic because I want to keep this going, and it is really enjoyable. And when you read this, you'll see how much of a badass Sergeant Rock is. So with that said, I'm going to end this video here. Men of War, a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.